Hi guys, welcome back. I've got a really cool light that I want to share with you today, and it's this light here. It's the C100 and it's from ZHIYUN, and it's really cool for a number of reasons. So let's get into it. So let's talk about some of the features of this light. Now first up, it's a full RGB light. And what's really cool about this light, as opposed to a lot of other RGB lights, is you get the full 100 watt output across the full color range. Now if you're like me, I love using different colors on set, and a lot of the times in the past you'd have to use various gels and you'd have to buy those gels individually. You get a little book filled with these sample gels and you hold them up to the light and you would pick out which one, and that could be quite costly because you'd end up having to buy each gel, and those gels ranged in price, usually for they were about £5 I think, £5 to £10 for a 2 meter section, or you could buy them in a full roll. Sometimes if you go to a rental house you would get full rolls, so you'd have to ask if you wanted specific theatrical gels as opposed to correction gels, and the difference there is theatricals deal with color whereas correction gels will deal with correcting. So if it's a tungsten light, for instance, you used to get, you know, CTBs would correct it to that bluer light that's associated more with daylight. What's really cool about this light is you get that full range. It's like every gel built into the light itself, and I love that because I like to work with a lot of theatrical gels. And you can see here in some of the sample footage, I've used this light specifically to give like a moonlight feel or for specific colors, and that's really cool because it covers a lot of bases. So this is quickly becoming a light that I'm using in my regular setup. One of the other reasons that this is becoming a light that I'm using quite a lot in my setup is because it's quite lightweight. It's under 1.5 kilograms, so I'll put the actual weight up on screen, and that's good for a number of reasons, because if you're like me and you're trying to carry a lot with you, maybe you're not always driving to shoot, maybe sometimes you're taking the train. In London that's something you have to do a lot because, you know, traffic can slow you down. If you're parking, you never can find a parking space. So this is a really handy light because it fits in my actual camera bag, which is great. The other reason that it's great because it's lightweight is it means you can use it on less heavy duty lighting stands. So if you've got a C stand, great, and you could use this with an arm and you could overhang it over the subject you're trying to light. But if you're carrying lighter weight stands, then you don't have to worry about that stand becoming dangerous or tipping over, because you know that this light itself isn't that heavy. So you're not putting a really heavy weight on top of a quite lightweight lighting stand. So having these lightweight options for lights is great, especially when they've got a really great output. 100 watts, you know, that's a really quite intense output, especially if you're using it in smaller environments. So yeah, super handy. Now this light also has Bluetooth control, and it's got a Bluetooth mesh system, so you can link this light up with other versions of this light, and you could essentially connect them all together in a rack and have them all hooked up to the same output, so you could control all of them in one essentially. And that's great because, you know, if you have 5 of these, that becomes a 500 watt output, and you could have them essentially built up like a normal LED panel, and that's going to be a really intense panel if you hook these up together. You could also have them running the same effect, so if you want brighter effects, you know, those standard effects that you get built into lights, then you can hook them all up together, and that's really useful. Another thing that this light has got, which you're seeing more and more in lights these days, is it's got a built-in battery, and that's really handy. You know, 100 watts is quite intense, so you're only going to get about an hour of use. That's at about 4300 Kelvin, and that's going to be really handy if you're not running the light for a long period of time. What I find I'm doing with this light is I'm just taking a USB-C charger. I've got a pretty long USB-C cable, and I'll just run this from a plug. What's really great about that USB-C input is you're getting smaller plugs these days, so you're not having to carry those larger power adapters for some of the higher wattage lights. You can just run this off a USB-C plug, and if you've got multiple USB-C lights, then you could have one plug for all of these lights, and you can get really long USB-C cables and they don't cost a lot of money. So it's quite handy that a lot of lights these days are giving you that USB-C like input, because that means you can use the same charger with multiple lights and the same cable. You're not having to deal with different inputs for different lights. So it's really handy that USB-C is becoming a standard on a lot of these lights. Now there's 2 versions of this light. The light remains the same, it's what you get with it. There's the standard pack that just comes with the basic light, it comes with the diffuser, the carry bag, also comes with the barn doors, which are really useful, and it comes with a USB-C cable. Now if you go for the combo, you're going to get the power adapter for that, and you're also going to get a little clamp that you can use to mount this light on various other attachments. So you can essentially have the lamp side mounted, stuff like that. If you're going to overhang, perhaps that's useful, but it's a really handy little clamp that just literally clips onto the back here. And yeah, it allows you to give you various mounting options. You also get a little pouch for your power adapter that comes with that. And then you get the grid that goes on the barn door. And that grid is really useful for texturing the light and kind of breaking it up. So which package should you go for? That really depends on if you think you're going to get use out of those extra features. I'll be using that grid all of the time. And I'd imagine I'm going to use that clamp because, you know, there's quite often if you're overhanging it, you might want to hang it from the top rather than the side, and also that helps you distribute the weight, because if you were just attaching something into this side, you've got quite a lot of weight on the edge there. So having the ability to hold it in the middle is just going to give you better weight distribution. So that clamp is going to come in handy quite a lot. So yeah, weigh up the options, see if you think it's worth it. Now, something I've noticed on other lights from ZHIYUN is the fan systems, and they can get quite audible depending on how hot the light is. Now, they're great lights and they've got great build quality. You might be in situations sometimes where you can hear those fans. With this light, I have to say I'm not noticing the fan remotely as much, which is great. And I think that's because it's got this new cooling system built in, which actually has a really large heat sink. Because of the length of the light, it's got a heat sink that goes all the way across here. You can see it, it's this metal here, and that's really going to help distribute the heat and make sure that those fans don't become too audible. And I have to say, from the use I've had, I've not noticed the fan noise, which is great because it's, you know, a high output light. I've got another light that I'm lighting me here, and that's 60 watt, and I can hear the fan when I turn that light on. Now the camera can't hear that fan, which is, you know, perfect, but with this one, for the output, I'm not hearing too much noise, and that's great because it's not becoming a problem on set. So yeah, really impressed with what they've done here to help distribute that heat and keep the light quiet. Now, if you're looking into buying this light at the minute, there is a deal on, and it's actually going to give you quite a lot off. Now, if you go for the standard edition of this light, usually that retails for around £319. I'll put the dollars up on screen as well. And if you go for the combo of this light, it retails for around £429. So at the minute, there's a 15% off deal. So that means if you go for the original light, it's going to take the price down from $319 to $271. And if you go for the combo, it's going to take the price down from $429 to $365. So if you're looking into buying these lights, now is the time to do it. So now to just wrap up, what do I think? I've been using this light for quite a while now, and I really like it. Like I said, it has become just kind of a light that I take with me because of the size of it. That just easily fits into my camera bag. Now you can see the camera bag that I've got in a video up here, but yeah, really easily just kind of fits in there, which means that I am taking it on pretty much every shoot with me. The output of this light as well, and the fact that it's RGB, is just, it's making it kind of a must-have for me. Built-in battery as well is another plus, you know. Sometimes if you're doing interviews and stuff, you just need the light on for a little bit of time. As well, if you're not running the light at 100 watts, which a lot of the time I'm not running it at full power, it means the battery's going to last a lot longer. Also, the fact that it's RGB, you know, if you're like me and you're using those various colors, different color temperatures and stuff, I like to have all of my lights that at the very least are bi-color, because you never know what environment you're going to be in, and it's just too difficult now to take gels with me. If you're driving or if you're on a bigger shoot, you might have those gels available, but for me, bi-color is kind of the minimum that I want in a light these days. And now that we're getting RGB options, the fact that this is 100 watts and it's RGB is, again, it's the most powerful RGB light I've got. Before this, I just had those cheaper RGB panels that I got off Amazon years ago, and you know, they're great. The color quality isn't quite as good, and the color quality with this light is really good. Yeah, this has kind of replaced those panels, and it's a lot brighter than those panels as well, the output that I'm getting from these. And plus, I didn't even mention the effects. Now, obviously a lot of lights have effects. This has all of the effects built in, and because it's RGB, those effects are gonna be more convincing in certain situations. If you've got fireworks and stuff like that, you're going to get various colours. Those effects aren't something that you always use, obviously, but there are times that you just do need to use an effect, and police car, fireworks, something like that are definitely things that on the odd shoot you are going to need. Really, really impressed by it. All of their lights are really good build quality, I have to say. Everyone that I've ever reviewed, I've always been impressed by the build quality, and that's no different here. What it's made out of, it's metal. Even the plastic bits are high quality plastic. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels heavy duty. If you're comparing it to stuff like aperture lights, they're easily there in terms of the build quality, I would say. If you're going into this ecosystem as well, the app control of being able to control all of these lights in one app is obviously going to be a benefit. With stuff like this where the light is a bit smaller and maybe you're overhanging it in a difficult situation, the app control is going to be very useful for changing settings, especially if you need to stand by the camera and see what's actually happening. Yeah, big fan of this light, like it a lot, use it a lot, take it on every shoot. Let me know what you think of this light. Do you use RGB a lot? What RGB lights are you using? I'd love to know. What are the alternatives? So that's it from me, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.